Time now to round up a big story from the week. When police and prosecutors break rules or make mistakes, lives are often impacted and not for the better. Chad Chadwick was the victim of a botched SWAT raid in Missouri City 3 years ago, during which he was beaten, shot, hit with stun grenades, and later prosecuted for crimes he didn't commit. Despite being badly wronged, according to himself, Chadwick has very little chance of recovering any damages from police or prosecutors. That's because state lawmakers have granted police and prosecutors blanket immunity from civil lawsuits. Which leads to the question, how can citizens get justice if they've been wronged? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also send a tweet using the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our Roundup panel. It's led by our Fox 26 legal analyst, Chris Tritico. Hey, Chris, good morning. What do you think about this case?
Well, this case, more than any other I've seen in a very long time, highlights a problem with the law, and that is the immunity statute that Texas and most states have, giving immunity to cities and municipalities and police departments and prosecutors for acts that they commit, even when they're wrong. The only way you can sue a city is either if you're injured by their property or if you succeed in a civil rights case in federal court, which is extremely hard to win. You have to prove that it is the policy, pattern, and practice of the municipality, not that this officer violated your rights, but that it's in the entire city's policy, pattern, and practice to commit these types of actions. An impossible burden, which Chad Chadwick found out when his case was dismissed by a federal judge here in Houston area after he filed his. And so the answer is there's probably not any redress for Chad Chadwick or others in his position. Let me introduce our panel. Excuse me, Mustafa Tamiz, our political analyst, Jackie Bally, public policy analyst. And you lived in this area, Jackie, and so we're going to start with you. Chad Chadwick, my understanding is the initial complaint was that he may be suicidal. Missouri City SWAT team comes out, fires off 2 stun grenades. A little excessive for someone when you're investigating whether or not they're about to kill themselves, isn't it?
I've lived out there 20 years, served as an elected official for several years, and have worked with law enforcement in Sugar Land. But the SWAT team is comprised of Sugar Land, Stafford, and Missouri City. And I will say that I've worked with the law enforcement officers in Fort Bend County. They do care about their residents. Now, to go back to your specific questions, Chad Chadwick's friend called the SWAT team, called the city of Missouri City, and said that he felt that Chadwick was suicidal and that he had a shotgun. He threw his dog out of the apartment, threw his keys out of the apartment, and he was fearing that, and Chadwick had made some comments, so he was fearing for his life. The officers were on the site 3 to 4 hours they were using bullhorns, they were trying to get through the window, trying to get his attention. Nothing. They feared that after approaching the 4th hour, maybe he was dead. They didn't know what to expect. They go into the apartment. He's in the tub, intoxicated, and these are all in the transcripts. He's in the tub, intoxicated, points to them. There's some verbal exchange between the police and Chadwick, points to them. They fear he has a gun. Though. He had something in his hand and they thought it was a gun. It was not a gun, but they thought it was. And then a lot of chaos ensued. So they actually thought they were doing the right thing. They thought that he was suicidal, and then when they got in there, based on the exchange, they thought that he had something in his hand, and then they thought their lives were in danger.
Do you need to use stun guns and stun grenades and that type of conduct if you're investigating a potential suicide?
Yeah, I believe he had a shampoo bottle in the shower in his hand. Right. Look, we've talked about this, that the militarization of our police forces across the country, and that's continued. We've been through 2 wars. All that equipment's coming back and it's going into our police departments, and this excessive force is not just happening here, it's happening around the country. We've been seeing it on television for the last month and a half. This case has got a lot of nuances, but at the end of the day, a call was made to 911 out of concern for his safety while he was in his home. And then he was charged with all of these things. And to end with is that, these charges didn't go away. Once the police came in, they went after him for a long time.
They had probable cause to go in because of the complaint. And the allegation that he may have had a shotgun would give the police some heightened concern, wouldn't it?
it gives him heightened concern, but the charges that were filed against him beyond the point beyond the intrusion.
We'll talk about that coming back. Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, here's a couple of the tweets that are on Twitter right now. This person says, I've heard there's more to the story than the basics that the media has given us, like Chadwick holding a shotgun. So SWAT busted in, saw him taking a bath, and proceeded to beat the snot out of him for nothing. We actually believe this. And then our reporter, Greg Grugan, who did the story, responding that it was a brutal projection of force on a man who hadn't broken any laws and was threatening no one while inside his home.
And let me come back to you on that, Jackie, what Greg Grugan just said. At the end of the day, he really wasn't violating any laws, yet John Healy, the district attorney, tried to indict him twice. He was no bail, prosecuted him for a misdemeanor that he won. If
you look at the transcripts, it says, according to the police officers, and it was not denied by Chapman, it says that Chadwick, it says that when they approached him, they said, "Show me your hands," and he made a comment sort of like, "I'll show you my hands," and he had the bottle of shampoo or something, a black bottle, and it was shaped the way his hand was. It was like a gun, and he turned to them, and that's when a lot of commotion ensued. So that in their minds, they thought that their
does that
health was
justify
being
two indictments?
They thought that their health was being, he did hit one of the officers during this commotion.
Do you think he has a right to defend himself in his own home taking a shower when stun grenades are going off?
Well, I mean, he had no idea what was going on. I mean, he hadn't committed any crime. He was taking a shower. He didn't know his friend had called 911.
They were using a bullhorn.
Let him finish.
They were using a bullhorn to get his attention.
Let him finish.
For 3 hours.
Jackie, hang on.
So, Jackie, I think you have given an account based on what the police have said, right? And there have been no bills. Multiple times they've tried to indict him. And grand juries, which are usually rubber stamps for the DA, have let that go. So there's a lot more to this than what's being described.
Of course, there's a lot more. And I am giving the account of the testimony of the police officers because Chapman did not deny it. Chadwick did not deny it during the process.
Well, he did not denying having a bottle of shampoo and denying having a weapon is two different things, isn't it?
Well, no one said he had a weapon. They thought he did. I mean, none of us know exactly what that situation would be.
Agreed.
I mean, they thought that they were going in there first. They didn't know if they would find someone who had committed suicide.
Right.
And then when they tried to get him to come out, then according to the transcripts, he was not cooperative, and that's when a lot of things ensued. We don't know how we would react to that.
Okay.
They were trying to help him.
All right, final thought.
Well, he didn't get a whole lot of help. I mean, look, I think that John Healy is a good DA, and one thing that could come out of this after Greg Gruden's report is to appoint an independent prosecutor to look at this, to look at both sides, because this is something that happens all the time in community college. This particular gentleman has no record, and therefore we're paying attention. Without Greg Gruden's report, we wouldn't be even talking about it.
All right, we got to leave it right there. We'll be back in the next hour with two really good topics.
Okay, we're going to look ahead to 2015 and the state legislative session. We'll see you then. Let's send it over to Caitlin for a check of your wet and cold forecast.